everyone.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right considering we had some technical difficulties when we first did this, i.e., I forgot to hit the record button and we lost an entire segment. So
But
unfortunately,
we're just like America, we're going to come through.
yeah, we have the segments that we have. This intro is recorded after the fact, just so
Yeah.
everyone's aware of that. Why any if any pacing seems weird or we reference something that wasn't brought up before. Uh,
Yeah, if it seems weird that I get better lit and then worse lit as the show goes on, that's why.
oh yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I'm just getting sweatier and sweatier as the show actually starts and ends.
All right, so we
Uh,
have we lost our segment with Trey, which was actually a pretty good segment. We talked about the golden age of the internet. We talked about posting on forums back in the day, and Trey posts on a wrestling roleplay forum, and Jacob posted on a Final Fantasy VII roleplay forum, and I just did parkour and a Flash version of Dance Dance Revolution. Uh,
that's
and
more or less the segment you missed. Then we asked
uh,
Trey some questions about the coronavirus, and we got there. So this week's show it's going to be a little abbreviated because we ran behind due to those technical issues. So we asked everyone how they're doing, and then we sort of skipped the recommendations. We'll bring those back. But this week we're going to ask people how they're getting their news, how they feel about anonymous tip lines, and whether or not they've changed any of their political views based on everything that they've been experiencing.
and
So
and now let's bring in our first guest, Hannah, who's
Hannah, here we
definitely
go.
being brought in right after I say this, and
Right
is not being edited
now.
together.
Hey, welcome to Routine Checkup. This is a weird routine checkup. We're coming in the middle. We already talked to Trey.
But you won't know that because I will have edited the title, and this part will be after that.
Well, they'll know it now because I'm making it impossible to edit around. We sort of lost something. It was totally my fault. But we're now joined by Hannah down in Dallas, Texas. Hey, Hannah, how are you?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining us. You still feel good about the coronavirus? Not good, but you are comfortable with the way of the world?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about things. I think we've either hit our peak of cases or are about to approach it, and we might even be on the other side of it now at this point. I'm hearing rumors that Texas is going to be reopening the next probably 2 weeks, so I'm feeling pretty good about things. Download the Robinhood app on Monday or Tuesday, whenever it was the oil prices tanked,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the oil and airline stocks that I'm watching look like they're starting to rally. So I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think so. Some states are starting to even announce their own reopening plans.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think Georgia is doing like a full opening. Well,
Hmm.
full right on May 1st. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
let's get into this week's questions. Hannah, I want to know what you're reading or watching to stay informed and why you think that source is better than the rest, and why other people should look into it.
So to be honest, I rely pretty heavily on Reuters and the Associated Press for my news, as well as like the Dallas Morning News just for local stuff. I'm really kind of, especially during time of national crises like that, I want just the facts, and I don't want to read a lot of editorializing on the subject matter. I just want the dry meat of the scenario, and then I'll make up my mind what to do from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. All right, let's move on. Some jurisdictions are setting up anonymous tip lines so that you can report violations of social distancing via Snapchat or some sort of photo system. How do you feel about that? You think it's a good idea?
I think everyone needs to keep in mind the rules of kindergarten. Before you call the teacher, have you tried to resolve the issue yourself?
Mm-hmm. And then I might know the answer to this, but do you think that you would use that system yourself?
No, I would go over and talk to the person and be like, hey, like, we got to hunker down a little bit longer. And it's for the good of everybody. Like, stop, I don't know, macking on your five cousins in public here. This is going to spread a virus.
Well, just to play devil's advocate here, I'd like to know what would it take? What would you have to see someone doing for you to say, "No, that's it. I got to report it."
Oh, I mean, if somebody's holding like, oh, I don't know, a house party right next door to me with 30 people there, that's that's the point at which I probably would be calling the authorities. But if somebody's just like hanging out with, half a dozen people going to the park, whatever, I don't really care. But I would definitely go say something about it myself before I call the cops on them.
Yeah. All right. This will be an interesting one with you. As we get deeper into the pandemic, and I have a follow up to this if the answer is no, but as we get deeper into the pandemic, are there any previously held political stances that you're starting to question with everything that we've learned? And I'm not talking about a party or a particular person. I mean, like a stance on an issue.
Sure. So if you'd asked me this question maybe 5 or 8 years ago, I would have been opposed to the whole notion of quarantines in general because I would have viewed it as infringing upon my freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
But I think nowadays, now that I've gotten a little bit older and wiser, I would say that a stay-at-home order is a fair thing to implement during a national emergency like the one that we're dealing with.
So I didn't ask 8 years ago, Hannah. Is there something that you held going into this where you're like, and now you might be questioning it?
I think
it can be no.
The balance to strike in all this is always individual freedoms with protecting the general public, right? And at the end of the day, we have to make sure we have to take responsibility for our actions and make sure that we're protecting the people in our community that are the most vulnerable. So, like my husband has a grandmother here in the Dallas area who's 90 years old. If she came in contact with the virus, it would be just devastating for her. She's been in and out of rehab facilities and stuff like that. So just, interacting with, somebody like that who's really concerned about this is definitely left an impact on me. And then the other thing to keep in mind is the flip side of that is any emergency measures that we take to contain a virus like this has to be temporary measures. There's all kinds of stories coming out of localities implementing unconstitutional orders and like shutting down this and that when they don't have the authority to do so. So I think wise governance in the era of Corona is about enacting temporary measures to protect people's safety and then rolling them back as soon as possible, as soon as it's safe to do so.
All right. I was trying to pin you down on one particular stance, but I can see you're not going to give it to me. You're good at this. Is there an opposing viewpoint that you, because of all this, you feel like you might understand a little better now?
Yeah, I think I understand the public good viewpoint a little more on some stuff, especially when it comes to like public health and bailout payments are going out to individuals in particular. This is something that, in many ways, I'm more concerned about the economic impact of the virus than I am about the actual public health impact of the virus. So this definitely has the ability to totally cripple our economy, right? And I think to recover from that, at the end of the day, like stimulus checks going out to individuals isn't a bad thing.
Great. All right. Well, we are, as you know, because you've been with us even when we're not recording, we're a little over time, so we'll call it there. But thank you for joining us, Hannah, and I hope you stay safe and enjoy the beautiful weather down there in Dallas.
Yeah, sure will. Thanks for having me, guys.
I'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, bye.
All right, here comes Ryan.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, welcome back, Ryan. How are you?
I'm well. How are you folks?
I'm
doing good.
Good.
Things still the same up there?
For the most part.
Did you hear we're reopening? They'll allow construction projects to go on May 1st, and now I guess the governor has decided that means we're reopened.
Well, you say that, but they just started mandating wearing masks in grocery stores up here.
That wasn't statewide?
It just occurred. I went into the grocery store Monday and it was fine, but this afternoon I was turned away.
How do you get a mask?
Yeah, I'm really.
It's a philosophical disagreement. I'm not going to wear a mask.
Oh.
Well, I know
some places I will, but
I know you're a 2A guy, right? Like you like
Yeah.
guns. I'm doing the mask thing because as much as I don't like it, I need groceries, but I don't like the combination. It makes me feel really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if it weren't the state freaking out right now. If you and I were to carry guns and wear masks, that people would have a real issue with that normally.
Well, there have been plenty of times where, even just in the last couple of months, there have been protests where people are arrested because they're wearing the same masks that we're being required to wear now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be weird to be one of those people who is still paying off those court fees and listening to people complain that they don't want to put their Antifa bandana around their face to go get groceries. Uh, you still feel good though, right? You haven't soured. You're not setting up a deer blind to shoot people who come for your canned goods.
No, no, I'm perfectly fine. Most of my goods are frozen. I still depend on the power grid. I haven't really bought in to the insanity and the silliness. I think that I'm watching it all close. It seems to be going every day. There's more good news. I'm not worried at all.
Great. That's a great segue into our first question then. Every day you're watching the news. I want to know what you're watching. And we all consume a variety, right? But I want to know the sort of main sources and why you like that source or sources and why you think it's better than other options.
I tried to vary it up a little bit, try to stay out of the bubble, although I certainly seem to get more frustrated at some sources than others. But a lot of it has to do with bouncing around. I mean, usually, probably my number one site I look at is Fox, and then the number two site is CNN, and it's fun to watch the contrast. And it's a really bad day when they have the same headline, but it doesn't happen very often. And then, of course, it's checking sources, and then from there, bouncing around, looking at various YouTube videos, talking heads in various places. I go by recommended feed through Google. Whatever Apple thinks I should be consuming, obviously, I will consume as a mindless consumer. But a lot of it is checking sources everywhere, and frequently they'll say the same thing, but they'll be angry about it for different reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for
there's
no
a lot of
reason,
interpreting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Some jurisdictions are starting to set up these anonymous tip lines where you can report people who are violating social distancing guidelines. Do you think that's a good idea? And would you ever call one of those lines?
No, I wouldn't personally, most likely. Again, philosophical differences, but this is nothing too unusual. It all has to do with control elements. It's no different than reporting suspicious neighbors in response to counterterrorism, or rather, as part of counterterrorism. It's been no different than if you're during Prohibition, they used to put posters up. If your mom and dad drink, call the police. Like this is nothing new. I wouldn't be surprised if, well, anyway, but this is nothing new whatsoever. It's all about there's aspects of control and keeping control, and you can't have full control if you don't have people on your side.
Does it concern you?
Authoritarianism always concerns me, but it might just be my Virginia blood. I get a little itchy when I start to smell a little bit of tyranny. Just kind of gets me. But no, not too concerned yet, because so far the consequences have been very minimal. But when they get to the point of shutting down these anti-control protests with like the National Guard, then I'll be extremely concerned.
All right. Well, let's move on. And this sort of leads from our last question. As we are getting deeper and deeper into the pandemic, are there any previously held political stances that you're starting to reconsider? No is an option. I have a follow-up for that. And when I say stances, I don't mean particular individuals or parties. I'm talking an issue.
I have not really changed. There are some things which I've even doubled down more on, but no, to my knowledge, I can't think of anything that I've really been swayed on at all from any of this.
Well, then I'll ask the follow-up. Are there any opposing viewpoints or stances that this has helped you get a better understanding of? To at least be able to empathize, maybe not agree, but to empathize with where they're coming from?
In terms of empathizing where people are coming from, it's It's a bit tricky because there's a lot of elements to this. There's a lot of different sides. There's a lot of different solutions being pressed, and for the most part, no. Uh, it's it's been really fascinating watching people who, for so many years, blame Trump for removing regulation and shutting down immigration and closing the borders. And they said he was warning us that he was going to be authoritarian.
Mhm.
And then this occurred, and they get mad because he didn't reduce regulation enough and he didn't shut down immigration fast enough and he's not being authoritarian enough. And that really just makes me stare at them and wonder. But I don't think that I've budged. Maybe I'm wrong. But no, this is, for me, if anything, has highlighted um, a lot of problems that
Mhm.
wouldn't otherwise be visible without the stresses of disaster.
Yeah. All right. Respectful answer. You're the first person to just say no, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that because if you're like us and you're on Facebook, you can see most people's answer is just no. Well, Ryan, thank you for joining us. We're running a little short on time this week, so we'll have to get recommendations again next week. Although I'm sure the people who watch are going to be upset they don't know which streams to watch, but we'll have to get you again on Sunday. Thanks for joining
Mhm.
us, bud.
Bye.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
All right, I'm gonna bring in Paisley.
Cool.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey.
how are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing
Good.
all
This is
right.
Paisley joining us from down in North Carolina, right?
Yep. Yep.
I heard you guys are planning on reopening soon.
Yes. As far as like information I've received, May seems to be when we will be opening. I haven't heard anything from my work as I currently work from home, but I am definitely seeing a lot of people promoting events and things like that. We have Elton John coming May 23rd, and he has not postponed or rescheduled. So we don't know what's going to happen with that, but
Mhm.
right now he is scheduled to perform. It's pretty much sold out. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
I like Elton John, but as a heterosexual male in his 30s, I don't think unless there's a quarantine, I'd ever say I'd be so stoked to go see an Elton John concert right now.
Yeah. I'm just like, will he perform in a bubble or a hologram? I mean, he's definitely in the age
Pretty
very
in that age range, yeah.
yeah. So that's
My understanding, he has a bit of a reputation for being a little prickly backstage, so maybe that'll finally serve him well.
who knows? Who knows? I mean, it's just something that I thought was kind of interesting because I do an events calendar for work,
Mm-hmm.
and he's kind of the soonest upcoming date, as well as our like minor league baseball is saying some May dates are opening up. So it'll be interesting to see, and fingers crossed that people stay safe and healthy.
Yeah, I agree. I hope everyone stays safe. All right, we're gonna jump right into our 3 questions for the week. We're running a little behind, so we'll have to save recommendations for Sunday. But
Okay.
first question, sort of a recommendation. We all consume a varied media diet, but we're looking for your top two sources, maybe. What are you watching or reading to stay informed? And then why do you like them? What do you think they do better than other places you can get your news?
Certainly. So I'm pretty much consisting my same diet as pretty much the same thing as far as media consumption. I recommend Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. It's an hour long, easy to watch. I also really like NPR, Marketplace, Morning Edition, all of those. Again, really easy to listen to while working from home.
Mhm.
And then I'm really appreciating that a lot of coronavirus news is being free on websites like Slate and New York Times. So I am sometimes digesting that. I do have a lot of conservative friends on my Facebook feed, so sometimes I'll see those headlines. But if I think they're incorrect or false, I'll be one of those few people who report it or I'll mute them.
Great. And that leads perfectly into my next question. Some jurisdictions are setting up anonymous tip lines where people can report folks they see out and about who are violating social distancing guidelines. How do you feel about that? And would you use such a service?
I'm not a snitch, so I don't
No.
think. No,
Just on
no.
Facebook.
Just well, I mean that's pretty much anonymous, so I'm pretty good on that. And honestly, it's for the good of your echo chamber, because honestly, that can get like refiltered over and over again.
Mm.
But as far as like reporting that, I wouldn't do it. But I could see some merit in it. I just also wonder like who would use it, and would it end up actually being more harmful to specific communities, because people can be very like weird when it comes to um, what they think is suspicious.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right.
Yeah.
We'll get into our last question here. Sorry. My dog is being antsy today. That's why I keep looking at my lap.
That's,
Uh,
that's,
as
that's
we
the answer.
as we get deeper into the pandemic, do you have any previously held political beliefs or stances, I should say, that you're maybe reconsidering? And I don't mean like a person or a party that you're into. I mean, like, do you feel a certain way about a position that now you think you might have been wrong about? And if the answer is no, I have a follow up.
I wouldn't really say I have a personal stance that like has been like mind altered or shifted, but I am kind of seeing some like hypocrisy in what people find. And I'm going to kind of keep it vague, but like hero versus not hero. Um, you know, saying you're fighting for one amendment, but someone doing the same thing and then saying that they're bad and harming society. I think that has become really like lightened and more or less disappointing as a view that I'm seeing in today's society.
Yeah. Is there a opposing viewpoint, like something you don't agree with, that you, because of this thing, you're starting to, at least if you don't agree with it, but you understand a little better, you have a little more empathy for those people?
Um, I'm really like not having a political stance on anything right now. My biggest thing in terms of politics is my job, which I just had like a huge political webinar talking about like the sessions that are happening in the state.
Mm-hmm.
And a big thing is a tax that funds my job. People are considering shifting it, or trying to eliminate it, as well as trying to alter things that are hugely associated with my job. So that is kind of more or less the stress in terms of politics, because
Right.
I like the tax that we have because it helps me get paid. And I think what it does is generally good. And if it goes to somebody else, I think that it's not really building that cycle that the tax is providing.
Okay. Well, that's fair. I'm sorry we're cutting you a little short this week, but we've got to
No
go.
worries.
Thank you for joining us, Paisley.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here and represent. Yeah, looking forward to the next one, and I understand.
Stay
Have a
safe.
good one.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
We'll bring in Brian.
Oh, there he is. It's the man joining us again, Brian Williams. How you doing, buddy?
Holy hell, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. You're doing good?
Yeah, I'm in a new location right now. Lots happened in a week.
Yeah. What's the new location? What happened?
This is my living room in my beautiful mansion in my gated community.
Mm-hmm.
I saved up a lot of money being essential.
Yeah.
all these non-essentials out here.
Yeah.
Just got off the phone with Mr. Bezos. He's supposed to be bringing a key of cocaine over here, man.
You're doing coke with Bezos now, huh?
Oh yeah.
Guy got divorced from the wife. Boy, that's the biggest bottle of booze farm I've seen in a while.
Oh, it is some expensive shit, I think. I don't know. It was gifted to me by Mr. Amazon himself.
Oh, I thought maybe you get the Trump wine as a thanks.
Trump's very hard to get to nowadays. Mr. Bezos, I work for him.
Oh.
Was that a
Well, work with him now. I halfway own the company. I've worked my way up the ladder.
Yeah, was that a damaged item that you got there?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it might be a wedding gift for you and your new wife, who we talked about you ordering last week.
Well, since his divorce, we've decided to be the He-Man Woman Haters Club.
Oh, okay, yeah. You are a couple of little rascals over there, aren't you?
MGTOWs.
Oh yeah. Oh, is this music too loud for you? I'm just over here partying.
No, it's fine. You got that mansion, man. You want a party.
Yeah, don't
Oh,
worry.
oh, let me crank it.
Everyone so far said they won't report you to the anonymous tip line.
Well, they better. We're trying to keep our community safe.
That's right, bud.
You know, what about my rights?
What about them? Tell us. Tell us what your rights are.
I got a right to get a haircut. Look at this shit, man.
I think it
I
looks
think
good.
you look good.
Yeah. All right.
My
Let's jump.
barber can't work right now because of these goddamn politicians.
All right. Let's jump into the questions.
All right, you want to jump to the questions, Clay?
Yeah.
So whenever you're ready, man. Ain't talking about love though.
All right, Brian. We want to know what are you watching or reading to get your information about the coronavirus right now?
Mostly Van Halen lyrics.
Yeah, and why do you think that should be trusted over other sources?
Well, David Lee Roth knew that I was semi good looking and ain't talking about love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about it. David Lee Roth just speaks to me.
Well, I think there's
Okay.
also the part where if you see the coronavirus, Van Halen's very clear. You should jump.
Yeah, no, and I hear it's a lot of cases in Panama.
Yeah, we should have never built that canal, right, bud?
Oh man, not at all.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question then. Some jurisdictions, they are setting up anonymous tip lines so you can report folks are violating social distancing standards. What do you think about that?
I think good on them, man. Shit, I want to keep my white community safe.
Are you white?
They don't know I'm not.
Okay. What if there was an anonymous tip line to report whether or not you're white? Would you be cool with that?
Fuck it. I should have. Look, I should have complied. You
I
know,
was just going on the record and say I wouldn't be cool with that tip line. That seems like a weird tip line.
you know, being as I look like a cop, gotta say it. I should have complied.
Yeah, you should have respected their authority. Is that some hot
Yeah.
for teacher that's coming in there?
Yes, it is.
All right, buddy. You are. How long you been working on that one bottle of wine?
Oh man, since we started in the waiting room.
Wow, that's a lot to go through. You're gonna have a hangover tomorrow, eh?
Oh man, my belly hangs over my pants. I'll tell you that.
Well, that is a hangover for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, as we get deeper into this pandemic, is there any political stance that you've held that you have shifted on?
Yeah, Van Hagar sucks. Van Halen.
I never thought there'd be a point where you and I agreed on politics.
Well, I'm here.
We
to
just found it.
say, and forget fucking Gary Sharon. He
Yeah,
should have
well.
stayed in extreme.
Is there a viewpoint that you did not understand, but you feel like you understand a little better now?
Yeah, cocaine did David Lee Roth really good.
True that.
Oh yeah.
You're a bit of a wild card, man. Is there anything else you want to let folks know who are watching?
A lot of Motley Crue music videos.
You want to let them know there are a lot of them?
Oh man, Livewire is a good one.
Okay, yeah, Livewire.
Take Me to the Top. I think they redid a video for that for the Dirt, so it has the actors in it, including this rapper Machine Gun Kelly. I don't like him very much, but you know,
Why?
I think he's a travesty to rock music because he's not even a rock musician.
What's your opinion on Kid Rock? Because he's like a combination of rock, country, and rap.
Man, you know what? Kid Rock, shit, just doesn't get any better than All Summer Long. Tell you that. Ooh.
No. Hey, do you
Sheryl
think
Crow, picture? He hadn't seen the sun in 3 damn days, yo.
he hasn't? Do you think this pandemic is going to go on all summer long?
I hope not, because I'm tired of wearing my mask around my gardener.
You have a gardener?
Yeah, he's kind of weary about COVID, so he requires me to wear a mask when I interact with him.
Why are you interacting with him? Does he not know
Well,
what
I've got to tell him which bushes to cut.
he doesn't know just by looking at him?
He knows speak of the English very well.
Does he need to speak English to see how tall a hedge is?
He doesn't know how I like him until I tell him.
And you tell him in Spanish? Show us what that would be like.
Cutto the Hedgehog.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, before we let you go there, buddy, I happen to know that you do a fantastic droopy dog.
Oh my God! Yes, this got me some of my net worth.
Yeah. Let's hear some of that droopy dog, and you
Well,
can
give
say
me-
whatever you like. Why don't you
Well,
sing along to Hot
give
for
me
Teacher?
a scenario.
Yeah, sing along to Hot for Teacher as droopy dog.
I got it bad, got it bad, got it bad. I'm hot for teacher, sir.
That was droopy dog doing Van Halen. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Brian.
Yeah, it's hard being rich.
Yeah. Good luck with your fortune from the marijuana stocks.
Yeah, no, I bought a sex doll company.
Making a lot of money now.
Yeah, I've actually made enough to upgrade to a mail order wife.
Yeah, they say you shouldn't get soft on your own supply.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting hard on a Russian chick.
All right.
All right, buddy. Enjoy
All
the Liberty
right.
Creek. We'll see you again soon.
All right.
God bless America.
God bless the USA.
God bless America. All right. Well,
You want to do our wrap up now?
yeah.
That was a show. Technical difficulties. Brian Williams, Liberty Creek binge.
Yeah. We lost Trey's segment.
Yeah, but I definitely didn't talk about anything embarrassing in online chat role playing or anything.
We
like
talked about the golden age of the internet, and now
That's
it's
true.
gone just like that age.
Yeah, I hope it's gone. My biggest fear is someday that stuff will resurface. There'll just be thousands of pages of me pretending to be a knight.
Yeah. What was your username?
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Yeah, I don't really give that out either.
Clay, what are you watching or reading?
Well, for the past few days, I have not been watching or reading any news. I've only been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. But before that, it would be a combination of Google News, Drudge Report, and 4chan posts. I wanted some mainstream, I wanted the counter mainstream, and then I wanted a random assortment of stuff that, in case there's something that somebody feels like should be out there and they've been banned from every other platform, maybe I'll see it there. And there has been a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that's popped up on 4chan and was called conspiracy nonsense in the mainstream media, and people were banned for posting it. And then a few days later, it would be posted by CNN and New York Times. For example, the reinfections, the possibility that it came from a biolab, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I'm the same. I never, there's no one I go to in particular. What I do is, as I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see a new story, I'll Google that story. And then I find in the first page the headline that sounds like it disagrees with the other the most. And then I read that. Because it often turns out when you read a headline saying, like, this thing is now 6 times more infectious, that it doesn't actually say it's 6 times more infectious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So usually somewhere like an explainer piece that tells you what's wrong with all the other pieces pops up.
Yeah.
And it's usually written by someone who's been doing journalism for 30 years. And it's a little more trustworthy.
Yeah, I would get that stuff when I like if you look into the studies on pretty much anything, like they would do like the vape studies, is it harmful for you? And then I go look at the actual study, and it's like sample size 5. We used 5 mice for this study. Like,
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. And then also the conclusion they draw is that it may or may not be harmful.
Yeah.
But then they'll say it's harmful because Yale.
Yeah.
Would you use the tip line? Do you
No.
like the idea of the tip line?
No. I don't like any of this. Like while I am comfortable with my current situation, I am very worried about the freedoms that are being taken from people. The precedent that's being set, where basically, if the argument is that we're doing this to look out for the greater community, then you could use that for basically anything. You could say people shouldn't be allowed to drive. You have to use public transportation because so many people get killed in car accidents.
Mhm.
Like you could use it for like anything that you could make an argument that it hurts the public, which
Mhm.
can be made from both sides. Then it really just comes down to whichever side's power structure is in charge at that particular time.
Mhm. Yeah, I like this even less right now because it's training a population that they should be snitches. Read an article last week. Eric Garcetti was giving a speech. He said snitches get rewards.
Yeah.
We should really be wary when the government starts trying to train private citizens to report on each other, especially because if you remember last summer, it was the summer of the Karen. It was all these white women that kept calling the police on black children with lemonade stands and all that. And then just one summer later, here we are, where it's your moral duty to save your grandma by calling the police on whoever happens to be standing too close to someone and you don't know if they're family or not, but they're outside and you don't like it.
Yeah.
It seems like a bad road to go down.
So you would use the tip line. All right. And the last question, as we're deeper into this pandemic, do you have any previously held political stances that you're reconsidering?
Yeah, I used to be fine with China producing everything. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was great that they paid their people slave wages, but I got cheaper stuff out of it. The cost of living has come down for Americans. Your purchasing power has gone way up, despite what you'll hear all the time. You can buy much more now than you could for the same amount of money back in the day. I think that's good. I still think that's good. But when you have a country that now there's a concern that China is going to take their money and start buying up all the depressed assets in these other countries so they can influence them politically in the future, that's a big concern for me. All this PPE that we're getting is coming from China. That's a concern if China is going to be a bad actor on the stage. They're still not admitting that this thing came from over there. They're still trying to blame everybody else. I don't know. Doesn't mean I think we need to necessarily bring all manufacturing back to America, but we certainly shouldn't bias the trade rules in favor of producing in China. And I think it would be a wise move for everybody who owns these factories to think that they should disperse it a little more around the world.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, not really. I mean, I enjoy the stimulus check and the boost in the unemployment. This is the first time I've ever gotten unemployment. I think that the way that our country has been set up for so long is such a problem that it's basically irredeemable, and things will have to break down and be reformed. So while I am morally against the freedoms that are being taken from people, the moves that are being made, I'm just going to sit and enjoy the fact that I am personally being protected if this thing does turn out to be something that stays with you for the rest of your life, if it turns out to actually be something that destroys T cells, as some reports are saying, stuff like that. But I think that if our system had been set up better previously, we'd be in a better position anyways.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with Sweden.
I think the problem with this whole thing is it's starting to make everyone across the board realize how much the government sucks. But that doesn't mean we're all coming to the same conclusion about it.
Yeah, for very different reasons.
Yeah.
I did say to someone that was filling out their unemployment and having a real problem with it, I said, oh, you frozen? Oh, okay.
No.
Someone was having a real problem with filling out the unemployment and dealing with unemployment office, and I just said, well, look forward to this being how your healthcare works in the future.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, it's been another episode, Clay. We had a little trouble, but thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with me and doing this with me. So we'll see everyone again soon.
All right.